How we doing? We good?
We are trying to be up. There it is. Yeah, we're up.
All right. Welcome back. Hey, Dr. Misak here. Welcome to another Saturday morning. I'm going to have to pull up the chat here in a minute and see all who's out there. Those of you who don't know who I am, Dr. Daryl Misak. I'm a naturopathic doctor, pharmacist, and I'm going to bring you something to learn that you just aren't going to learn elsewhere of how to restore your health naturally. And people, this is a gold mine of information. So I hope that you will share this information and let's get off this shadow banning stuff and get the word out there. So I always like to start with a good Bible verse. And even though I walk through the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. That is straight out of Psalm 23:4. I love the Bible app. It just kind of gives us a thing, just that daily guidance. And it's ironic how much it speaks to you on so many days with all the stuff that's going on, particularly when I pull them off on Saturday morning. Um, I mean, there's so much crazy stuff going on in this world. We have one side that wants separation and this racial, a whole platform can be built on diversity and division, whereas another platform can be built on coming together. And I'm saying, let's come together, people. Let's bring this information to people. Let's get people aware of how you can be healthy in this screwed up world, and let's just keep continuing this move forward. So Annie continues to. Did you text those to me, Annie? Those pictures
I didn't, but I
you
will.
did.
I sure will.
Okay, yeah. So Annie continues to work on some the thumbnails that we're using for the shows, which are going to be kind of just visual clues as far as um, uh, introduction to the concepts of each of the variables that are in the perfect equation. And so, why don't we talk about the perfect equation, and what the heck is the perfect equation? And why would we talk about that if this is the first time on there? What is perfect equation? I mean, so imagine you interview 100 doctors or 100 health professionals and you ask them, define perfect health. How many answers do you think you'll get? Annie?
Four different ones, at
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
Or I'm saying, yeah, I think you'll get 100 different answers.
Yeah.
I think everybody is going to base their definition of perfect in health based upon their level of understanding of what's possible in health. Does that make sense?
Oh,
You
that's
can
a
only
good way
be
to
as
put it.
healthy as what you believe you can be anyway. There's where that mind, mental awareness, self-awareness concept comes in as well. But the perfect equation is a mathematically defined perfect energy utilization of the human body. Okay, so biological systems, function at a frequency. Everything is energy. So when you're listening to my shows and it seems like, oh, I don't remember hearing about that anywhere, it's because sometimes I'm talking in energy concepts. Because the person who taught this, Dr. Kerry Reams, he basically said you have to kind of erase your memory from the training that you had, particularly if you were medical, to understand how to think in a different context. Stop thinking on this cellular level. Although I've written articles, if you go to docmisak.com, and you go down to the articles that I posted in Naturopathic Doctor News and Review, you'll see not only a couple articles, 3 articles about this bioelectric chemistry utilization. There's supposed to be a 4th one coming out. I thought it was coming out this month, but I didn't see it published yet. But there's another article on there about cellular optimization. And I just reread that the other night. I'm like, man, where do I get this stuff? And I just trying to teach my profession a concept of thinking that your cells are as healthy as they can be, based upon the environment that they're in. That's a cellular concept of homeostasis. Well, how do you change the environment? What dictates the environment? Kerry Reams explained it mathematically through the concept of energy, and that everything is frequency and vibration, and it's all electromagnetic spins, and how fast or how slow it's going, which is what we talked about last week. And the week before is what potential energy you have with talking about sugars. And this week, we're going to talk about salts. But right now, if we pull up that perfect equation, and I'm assuming Annie has it pulled up, we're looking, what does it start with? Common sense. So if I teach you that you are able to eat, you know, if you want to lose weight, 1,300 calories a day, that does not mean 3 bowls of ice cream.
Are you sure?
Or a tablespoon of sugar every 20 minutes, you know? So common sense plays a role in understanding variety and diet and stuff like that. But then you go through for the mathematical aspects, the bricks, the sugars, and potential energy at 1.5. pHs should be 6.4 in biological entities, and anything above that pH or below that pH changes the environment, and therefore that changes the potential electromagnetic spin from going from a clockwise to a counterclockwise or vice versa, depending on whether you're clockwise spinning in acid base and going too fast, or counterclockwise and anionic and going too slow. So, and then we talked about how hydrogen and oxygen are isotopes, meaning based upon the environment, they can spin clockwise or counterclockwise. They can. So why? Because it's on a cellular level that makes up what, 80% of your body. So you are electromagnetic. And so the next value is conductivity. And that's what we're going to talk about today, and just bring that into aspects. Conductivity kind of defines salt values in your body, and salt dictates the thickness of body fluids. It aids in heat regulation, you know. And if your body fluids are thick on a cellular level, what's it going to do? It's going to slow them down, particularly your blood. If your blood gets sluggish, what does that do? Affects your oxygen carrying capacity. So salts directly play a role in angina, because you can, you know, agglutinate your blood and then you just don't get enough blood flow, you know, or oxygen where it needs to be. The next is cell debris, which I'm assuming we're talking about next week. And cell debris is gives us an idea of water balance with those fluids and kidney utilization. And then nitrates. Nitrates give us the idea of protein building, protein breakdown, what side of the body, right or left side of the body, things are going on, gives you insight into the pancreas and the digestive function, and mostly into detox. And so when you're looking at that, you can turn around and say, okay, what's detox? And, you know, we also have another little graphic that Annie created, and it's called the Restorative Health Model. And this is something that we want people to be aware of. So if you look at that, oh, hold on, I just opened up our thing. Hold on. So if you look at the Restorative Health Model, you're going to see, you know, I'm trying to give you a basis of naturopathic medicine summed up in a picture. And so if you look on the left side of that, it says total load and stressors. And that's because your body can only handle so much stress. And when you exceed that stress, it says, I can't do all this. Something's got to give. And what gives can be based upon your genetic susceptibility, can be based upon you being exposed to some particular environmental toxin that's affecting a particular system because it can't be detoxified. It could be based upon a particular microbe. I mean, who's had Lyme? Suck City, people, you know? And so, and that's not the only microbe that can affect you in a very nasty way. So your total load, your spiritual, your mental, emotional, your environmental, your physical, your microbial load, how much can your body handle? And you have that blue line going across there that says threshold. And if you exceed that threshold, that big word symptoms comes out. Symptoms are your body's attempt to explain, hey, I can't do this. I need some help. Some people use homeopathics. Some people use herbs. Some people use nutrition. Some people use all the above. Some people use diet. Some people use drugs and surgery. Let's hide those symptoms. But that's not how it works, people. Your body can't handle the load. So then Andy did this beautiful black line that says, Doc Misak's 5-phase health mentality. Why? Well, what the heck is that? And I don't know if she has another little picture that brings that up, but it's a 5-phase aspect of understanding naturopathic health. That phase 1, you just clean up your environment. Get rid of the toxins. Stop putting them on your skin. Stop bathing in them. Stop breathing them in. Stop being exposed to electromagnetic fields as much as you can. Just modify your environment because you're affecting that total load. Pure air, pure food, pure water, electromagnetic field protection. Phase 2, test. What am I reactive to? Identify your specific burdens and modify or adjust or eliminate them. Get rid of the food allergies. Identify parasitic loads or viral loads, and how do I address those? Identify environmental toxins and heavy metals and dioxins or PCBs or different types of pesticides. Glyphosate. Raise your hand if you think you don't have glyphosate in your body. I'm glad I don't see anybody raising their hand because I can't. But in reality, you should not be raising your hand because you have glyphosate in you. Scary thought, people. Neuroendocrine disruption. So clean up your environment. Identify your specific load. Phase 3, support. How do you identify what you need for support? That's why we go back to that perfect equation. If you know how to change those variables around and you know what it takes to move them, it's a lot of the time it's minerals, particularly with the aspect of the efficiency and honing in on your frequency and pH that I talked about last week. And that's why that guy, I don't know his name, wrote those $1 million books on the pH miracle. Hey, control your pH and everything gets better. Royal Rife, a body that has a controlled pH is a body that won't get sick. Yet alone, what was he using? Frequency to change the body, modify the environment. And that's why I have a Rife machine right there behind me, people. What's that for? Not treating, not curing, not preventing, not diagnosing, just giving you some good vibes, right?
That's what it is. That's a good way to put
it. So everything is frequency. And so what we want to do is just bring it all to understanding. How do you do that through diet? Phase 4, detox. When you look at that 5-phase mentality, you notice that there's a little drain that opens up right there in a puddle of goo. And Annie's also done some buckets that we need to pull out at some time, which we haven't shown you yet. And basically, you're opening up the drain and you're decreasing what's going in the bucket so the bucket's not overflowing. And I don't know if Annie can pull that up at some point and work on that in between, but it's just a great visual concept to help you understand this. So you start draining your bucket and detox. But that does not mean come in and do my hyperbaric chamber and sauna and foot bath and colonics. It's going to happen naturally because you have started an aspect where you lower the total load, you lower the load on your body, and you functionally support what your body needs. So you raise your threshold because now my body can work a little bit more efficiently, a lot more efficiently actually, because it can now handle a higher load. And your body's saying, hey, I'm going to clean up the crap that I've been storing for years. And we're going to start remineralizing because you are so depleted. Look at our soils. Where are you supposed to get your minerals from? Our food. Just look up mineral depletion, soil depletion. Google it, people. They estimate by 2050, they're not going to have viable soil in the United States to support the agricultural industry, to support the food requirements of us. So next, we're going to be going into famine that's induced by ourselves.
No. The need to grow is going to fix it all. Look them up.
Oh, right. We're going to be teaching you guys some concepts on gardening and farming as well. Oh, I love this stuff, people. And so phase 5. So you detox. And when you're looking at the chemistry, when you see the backside of those numbers show detox, I mentioned nitrates and cell debris, and today we'll talk about salt. And when your chemistry opens up to starting to detox, do those services, people. Sauna, foot bath, colonics in many cases. It's ready, dump it. Get rid of it. Help your body out in those circumstances. It's not about going to some Tijuana clinic and doing a detox to get better. Detox is one of the avenues towards restoring health. But if you don't change phase 1 and phase 2 and change your environment, and your susceptibility hasn't changed and your environment hasn't changed, just because you detox and clean up that environment doesn't mean that you're not going to go right back to where you were. That needs to make sense, because so many people go to these specialty cancer clinics and whatever and think that I just need the detox. And they go down there and they feel so much better because they do. But it doesn't mean that they've cured themselves. And the people that run those things say, well, you didn't stay long enough. That $10,000 for 2 weeks? No, you need to stay for 3 months. But I don't have that kind of money. Oh, people, it's not about that. It's about a process, not a product. And let's support that process. So phase 5, self-awareness. Get into that Bible app. Find who you are. Know what you believe. What do you believe is happening in this world? I don't want to even talk about that.
Do some Wim Hof. Tap into your inner superhero.
There you go. Dun, dun, dun. So let me see.
I'm going to win you over, Doc. You're going to do some Wim Hof one of these days.
Yeah. I did it. I tried it once and I didn't get into it.
You need
as
a
well
2-week stint and you'll be committed.
Okay. I hear you. So, where was I? What are we going to talk?
We're going into conductivity. You were going on the back end of the 5 phases.
Well, I know what I was trying to do. I wanted to pull up, turn on my phone, look at the chat, just say hello to everybody, and I hope you guys don't mind. We interrupt this broadcast for technical difficulties.
You got it?
And let me see.
I can bring you mine.
Yeah, I've got it. Oh, look at that nice thumbnail. Hey, you guys, what do you think of that thumbnail, these thumbnails that Annie's creating on this type of stuff? Red Label, good morning. Leah, Diddy, Linda, good morning. Marty, Red Label, again, 100 different answers. Yes, thank you for answering. It is 100 different answers. Even you as an individual are going to have a specific definition of what perfect health would be for you because that's what you believe. So that's self-awareness. That's level 5 or phase 5. That's who are you? Prayer, meditation, rhythm, understanding, belief. Follow that voice back there that speaks reality in the back of your head. I used to work with Royal Rangers, and it was a Christian Boy Scout organization. I'd work with all these young boys, teaching them how to tie knots. We'd go camping, teach them how to build fires, set up kitchens, all that fun stuff, lashing. Love that type of stuff. And but when I was working and teaching the kids, I'd always ask them, particularly the ones who had brothers or sisters, or even ask and say, how many of you have a brother or sister? And it was almost all of them. And I'd say, how many of you have ever hit them? And all of them would raise their hand. And I'd say, how many of you knew that it was not right to hit your brother or sister? And they'd all kind of raise their hand. And I said, how many of you knew it was not right to hit your sister or brother before you hit them? And they sat there and they kind of go, yeah. And then you say, who told you that? Did you hear that voice inside of you that said that that was wrong? How did you know that? Where's that voice coming from? People, every one of you have that voice. If you just want to hear it, find it. Let's see here. Teaching on brick farming would be fantastic. I agree with that. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Matt, Marty. Thanks, Annie. I got 20 in the live chat. People, please start sharing. Please give that thumbs up. We got to get some more people out there, and let's make this stuff a reality. Okay. So let's pull up that that conductivity slide that what we have. And so I'm going to talk today, like I said, about pH and balance. And one thing I kind of stopped doing that I probably should is, due to the legal nature of practicing in a non-licensed state for naturopathic medicine, the presentation and the concepts of bioelectrochemistry should not be construed as a form of diagnosis, treatment, cure, or prevention of disease. Additionally, the views and concepts contained within this presentation challenge current medical accepted views and are not intended to replace, scrutinize, slander, or condemn any medical or accepted health viewpoint or association that upholds those beliefs. Don't you love disclaimers, people? It's just ridiculous of where we are in this world. But when we go to conductivity and bring in that aspect today, conductivity, and if you just read the thumbnail today, we check it of the urine. It's giving us an idea of the salt. And it's basically recognizing the ability of energy to move throughout your system, the ability of energy to conduct electricity from point A to point B. So basically, it's like static energy. And when you're at 6.5, you have the least amount of resistance, but the amount needed in order for energy to flow freely is the word I'm looking for, throughout your body. And so too high conductivity, affects your energy and too low conductivity affects the ability of energy to get there. It's like static energy. And so when you get too high conductivity, you have this, static electricity going through you that literally just breaks down nerves and smooth muscle. And so the aspect is you're giving an idea of conductivity and measuring salts is what it comes down to. So like last week, we talked about the perfect equation and what each one and how it's a system of measurement. And bottom line, again, this week when we talk about perfect, if you know what's perfect, when you learn to move each one of those variables, then you can control or have an understanding of cause and effect. Okay? By measuring. I did this, my salts went up. Wait a minute, that's cause and effect. I ate those sea salt chips. I did this, and I drank a green drink, and my nitrates went up. I'm able to actually digest that more effectively, and it stimulated my body to detox. So you can learn to understand these numbers, and they give just a beautiful picture. So again, bricks we talked about 2 weeks ago. That's potential or available energy. pH is representing the speed and the magnetism as a measurement of resistance and the ability of those positive and negative charges to rub up against one another. And so the higher the pH, the more resistance and the slower the things go. The lower the pH, the less resistance and the faster the things go. So it's telling you is if your system is going too fast or too slow, or if your digestion is too fast or too slow. And it gives you a quality of that bile strength and how well you're going to be able to digest. So when we're looking at conductivity, it's primarily representing the ability of energy to get where it's needed. So it gives also an idea of the osmotic pressures. The osmotic is telling you how much solute is in a solvent. Wow, let's get science on this. So when you're looking at any type of liquid, the amount of stuff floating around in that liquid and the concentration of that determines the osmolarity. And the higher the concentration, the higher the salt value, the thicker that fluid's going to get. Does that make sense? And the lower the concentration, the lower the conductivity or ability of those molecules, really minerals within there to transport that energy. And so the thinner that fluid's going to get. I want this to make sense. So you're looking at fluid balance with this, because water in an osmotic basis on a cellular exchange is going to go where the higher concentrations are. So if you're holding protein and dumping protein, you're going to hold fluid, and we'll get to that. But the other aspect is Ream showed that this conductivity gives us an idea of heat loss. And I'm not going to go into heat loss because we're going into energy aspects that we don't really need to focus in on. But you can start seeing where people who have a high amount of conductivity, and therefore there's a high amount of electrostatic heat energy, your body has to dissipate it. So you're going to see an aspect of those people are going to be hot all the time. And people who are low are going to be cold, but you think about what it correlates with. I talked to you about salt and the bricks and the salt ratio. In the perfect equation, it's 1 to 4.3. In a healthy person, it's a 1 to 5 ratio, somewhere between 1 to 4.5, 1 to 5. So if you're turning around and you're saying, wait a minute, if I'm going to have low conductivity, it usually correlates with low bricks, and low bricks means there's not enough oxygen and there's not enough sugar. And I talked about sugar being the byproduct of sugar metabolism is alcohol, which generates heat. So therefore, there's not going to be heat generated. And so the salt concentration and the thickness of those fluids dictates the ability of heat to move through the system. Now, we'll leave it at that. But at the ideal value of when you're looking at bricks of 1.5, pHs of 6.4, and a conductivity of 6.5, you have optimal available energy and mineral utilization in the body. You are improving efficiency. So, but always be aware, if you just buy a refractometer and pH strips, that if I only deal with my bricks and my pH and I start getting them to control, what if I have screwed up detoxification my saliva pH is always hovering a little bit high, and I have no clue what my cell debris and my nitrates are doing. That's a problem, because as that saliva pH is dictating the speed of the liver and the concentration of the liver bile, then wait a minute. If it's going up, that means it's slowing down. Why is it slowing down? Those nitrates and the pH and the cell debris complete the picture. And so that's why it's good to know it all and not just say, hey, I want to have more energy, so I'm just going to watch the first four numbers. But there are people who watch the first four numbers, improve hydration, and next thing you know, particularly athletes are performing on levels they haven't performed at ever, because their oxygenation is maximized and their hydration is down. So when you're looking at conductivity, you're representing about 48 to 49 mineral salts or electrolytic or electrolytes that are thrown out into the urine. It's a salting out effect. It's associated with coagulation of the blood, or agglutination of the blood, thickness of the blood, hardening of the arteries, irritation, of those arteries, increased cholesterol, nerve irritation, smooth muscle breakdown, all that static electricity hanging out there, nervousness, I'm nervous, sclerosing, tissues just breaking down and getting hard and having issues. So because you're affecting that thickness of that fluid, your conductivity, it's going to depend on whether you're too alkaline or too acid, affects that friction of, is it moving too fast, too slow? And that again brings you back to that heat loss. You're going to have excess heat loss with that. When you have over ionized or high conductivity situations, it's kind of like having static electricity in the body. And again, the main issue is nerve and smooth muscle breakdown. It irritates the hell out of your nerves. Imagine if your nerves are firing energy and electricity, what if you always have this constant humming going through your body? What's that?
I used to have it all the time until I met you. Now,
So
it'll come and go. I can tell when I'm off because I'll buzz. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, and then you look at and you check your bricks, and you ate something, and your bricks is at a 5. I had one of my favorite dishes 2 days ago at a Thai restaurant, and I'm like, I don't feel right. I ran my numbers. They were 5.0, 5.19 over 7. Liver slowed down. Digestion trying to speed up. Conductivity bopped up to 27. My cell debris was at a 4+, and my nitrates were like 10 over 8. I'm like, oh, I love that, but I should not eat that. So drinking water, went back, took 10,000 units of vitamin D, took some Cal-2, took a magnesium. Let's get this back under control. I want my life back. So, and that's the benefit, people. When you're looking at understanding this RBTI, it's and particularly if you look at that 5-phase mentality and self-awareness is a way for you to love you. Think about it. How many of us love ourselves? Sorry, people, but if you don't like yourself, guess what? You're going to have to live with it. You're going to have to live with you. So change it. Love yourself. Figure out what you need to. What don't you like? And why don't you like it? Is it really important? If you're made in God's image, you're made the way he wants you. So think about that, And so find yourself. I don't know how I go on these tangents, but, if we bring it back to conductivity, I brought this tangent because measuring and knowing and understanding the cause and effect through these numbers and testing at home basically give you the opportunity to love you, because now you make a choice that I know that if my bricks is high, I can choose to drink more water so I can get it where it's supposed to be. If I know my pH is too high, I know that I can take some vitamin C. I can drink water, but I can also take the right calciums to move that down. I know that if my liver is irritated, I know that I can do lemon, because there's basic concepts that we're taught. Choose your choice. The one thing you have. Choose to love you. And so, I just love that concept of how, what better way to take care of yourself than an analytical perspective that says, what's really going on? What should I eat? I put out together a handout for some of you that I still owe it to Earth Garden Living. Oh my God, Annie, remind me to email that handout to Earth Garden Living.
I will.
Are you out there today?
I haven't seen her yet.
Okay, I haven't seen her either. Okay, and no more chat. Am I just rambling enough that you guys don't have questions? This is good stuff. Is it good stuff? I hope so. So when we're looking at conductivity, and I teach you about these variables, and if you go and read those papers about bioelectric chemistry, people, it's not quantum stuff. Well, it is quantum stuff, but it's not quantum. I need to know quantum mathematics to understand this stuff. I'm explaining it that, hey, if it's too high or too low, it's too fast or too slow. If it's too high or too low, I've got too much or not enough with water intake. Today was salts. If it's too high or too low, again, it's water. And it's what salts are you consuming? So when you have excessive conductivity symptoms and it's too high, you're going to get, again, coagulation, diverticuli, smooth muscle breaks down. People get diverticulitis, particularly if you have high pHs. Things get backed up. High conductivity starts breaking down that smooth muscle, and you get diverticulitis. Can it be healed? Yes, it can. Doctors won't tell you that. Nope, you've got it. Don't eat seeds or corn for the rest of your life. Lack of bladder control. Achoo! Oh my God. How many people lose urine when coughing and sneezing? How many people finish going to the bathroom and dribble just a little bit more? You're losing that. Those are people who have that breakdown of that smooth muscle. Hiatal hernias, same association. Nervousness, anxiety. Oh, give me my CBD oil. Oh, hearing impairment. Huh? High blood pressure, heart palpitations, edema, swelling, angina, heart attacks. My blood's agglutinating. It's getting thick. It's associated with high bricks, and so therefore I'm already not getting enough oxygen. I don't have enough oxygen. I got thick blood. My heart says, oh my God, what am I doing? Heart attacks can be a thing of the past if you just control your bricks and your conductivity. You don't have to have that family history and fear it for the rest of your life. Arthritis complaints. Why? Breakdown, irritation, thick fluids, can't get blood to in oxygen where it needs to be. Kidney disease, holding water, blowing up, edema. You also see anemias, stuff like that, particularly when the pHs are off. What about low conductivity symptoms? Things will move too slow. You don't have the ability of getting energy where it needs to go. My brain doesn't want to work right. Oh, I'll get that. Poor coordination. Poor, slow mental function. I can't think. Come on. I don't want to feel that way. So, and they're going to be so much worse when you have low conductivity if you have a potassium deficiency or if you have that low sugar, with the low oxygen. What do? We use pH strips to measure, we use a conductivity measure to use it. We encourage people to get the Hariba EC22 conductivity meter. Some of the older meters, you have to, if they come out where when you're measuring, if your value is too high, the meter will max out at 20 millisiemens or something like that. And then you have to turn around and dilute the urine sample and retest it. Get an EC22 meter, and you can test, and it'll test your bricks up as high as you need it to go. It shouldn't go any higher than that. We always test an hour and a half or 2 hours after meals. But in reality, if you're an elite athlete, or anybody trying to learn your patterns, and you run those first four numbers, the bricks, the pH, and the conductivity, you're going to learn hydration. And hydration is going to just improve everything, because as you move those numbers towards ideal, particularly the first four numbers, the 1.5, 6.4 over 6.4, 6.5C, as you move those numbers towards the ideal, you're going to have improved energy, period. If your numbers are crap, even slight movements towards that ideal, you'll notice that, hey, I have more energy than I've had. So we also, when you're looking at this stuff, when you're measuring Brix, pH of both urine and saliva, and the conductivity, that first half of that equation represents energy in your body's ability to get energy inside of it. So we mentioned at those perfect numbers, when the first 3 or 4 numbers are there, you have perfect energy utilization, oxygenation, and mineral utilization. Your body's like, hey, I'm a machine. I've got this. I've got what I need. I'm running well. Okay, so optimal available energy and mineral utilization is going to be occurring. So but when you're looking at it, so at energy out is represented, again, that conductivity, that salt value is incorporated in that, in combination with the cell debris and the nitrates, because it dictates the waste. Your salts are not just salts, and there's also ureas that can be incorporated in that value. So when you're testing your conductivity, if your conductivity value, where you measure on that meter and you multiply it by 1.43 or divide it by 0.7, that's how you get that C in that conductivity value. So when you have that value, if that value is above 15, okay, then your Brix, Dr. Badeau teaches to adjust your Brix, meaning that Brix is going to represent both sugars, about 15 of them, but also salts or ureas are dumping out because you're detoxifying, and so that Brix value, he says you need to adjust it. You adjust it down so your sugars are actually low. Dr. Reams did not adjust that. I've talked with Betty Reams Hernandez, and I don't know if Betty's out there today. Betty's like, no, we never adjusted it. I go by that Brix value. I don't adjust, but I do keep an eye on that sugar to salt ratio, on how I'm adjusting sugar versus food and water intake, to try to get that ratio to be 1:5. So when you're looking at energy out, that conductivity plays a role in both energy in, with the availability of getting energy where it's needed, but energy out in association with heat loss. Remember, we mentioned heat loss and water balance and kidney stress. Because if those salts are up, the kidneys are going to be stressed. They're going to have all those salts to process. You're going to hold water weight. So that conductivity gives us an idea of both sides of that equation. Energy out is giving the conductivity, the cell debris, and the nitrates, tells us detoxification efficiency. So you're going to get an idea, because that cell debris gives us that cell turnover and elimination. The nitrates give us protein building and protein breakdown. So what we're seeing with all this is how we can utilize energy. So the idea to get your body in a rhythm is controlling your sugars, your pH, and your conductivity by putting the body in a rhythm, drinking systematically every 30 minutes, and not your morning coffee. So good. But I know what this does to me. I know it affects my sugars. I know that I'm going to probably go back and have a snack, some nuts or something to keep my sugars from crashing, because I learned what this stuff does to me. Man, is it so good. Did you want to comment, Annie?
Nope. Drink your coffee.
Thank you. Cheers. How do you guys like it? That was my original emblem, by the way. Pittsburgh Alternative Health, hand drawn, and I had somebody draw it on a cup for me. So I've had this cup for about 15 years. Like it's the only one with that emblem on it. I hope nobody just took a picture of it and now goes and does a T-shirt with it. That'd be kind of cool.
Hello, I can do that.
So when you're putting your body in regulation, you have to take into the first 4 numbers into consideration. I will talk a little bit more about conductivity while we have some time, but energy in is important, because that's what you all want to know. How do I get more energy? Control your sugars, your pHs, and your conductivity. You're understanding hydration, and you're understanding food choice. when you do that? When you look at
I
that?
think you should mention salt choice.
Oh, wow. And I didn't. So when you're looking at that sugar to salt ratio, should be 1 to 5. If it's running about 1 to 7 to 1 to 8, most people are consuming the Himalayan or the pink salt. When it runs a 1 to 10 ratio, you are always finding too much sea salt in the diet. Salt is a poison, people. And when I was in pharmacy school, low salt diets were the way to control blood pressure. However, in 1994, what did they do? They introduced genetically modified foods. Within 10 years, you heard about everybody, about celiac disease and having gluten-free stuff everywhere and all these digestive issues. And so why? Because we introduced a genetically modified molecule into the human body, and we're doing a big, huge experiment. And our gastrointestinal tracts are saying, hell no, people, I can't take this. What are you putting in here? This is a symptom. I'm trying to tell you, you've exceeded your threshold. Stop. You like it? So what else did they do? So in around in the 1990s, guess what came out? Statin drugs. Started with Lipitor, Zocor, and then all the other ones started to follow. It started with lovastatin, Mevacor. And so what are, I think, 3 of the top 10 drugs that are $1 billion a year drugs, billions of dollars just for this one drug. They all started, in the 1990s, late 90s. When did you start hearing about sea salt? This is what you need. This is what you need to stimulate your adrenal glands. This is what you need for everything. This is what we're going to put on your Wendy fries now because you need more minerals. People, sea salt thickens your blood. Your blood gets thick. Your body produces cholesterol to thin it out. It gets irritated. It causes angina. What is that going to do for the drug industry of control of cholesterol? It's going to skyrocket them. So the normal for cholesterol when I was in pharmacy school was a 240. If you were below 240, you were good. And then they lowered it to 205 about 1996 to 98. Then they lowered it to 1 to 200. And now they still say, well, if it's 200, it's okay. But in reality, we want it at 170. Why? Because the only way you're going to keep it at 170 is taking a statin drug or eating a very, very, very clean diet. And most of you don't want to choose that clean diet. Interesting. Thicken your blood. Take some sea salt. Get sick. Have nervousness. How many people are told that your adrenal glands are stressed, so you need more salt? Do sea salt. Do sea salt. Yeah, because sodium will stimulate cortisol levels because you need it to handle the thickness of your blood. Was that enough about this subject, Annie?
Well, you didn't mention kosher salt.
Oh, see? Thank you. So all you need is sodium chloride. And so I use kosher salt. And kosher salt, I use the David's kosher salt. It's in a great big blue container. It's thick, or those large granules. So those of you who like fine salt, grind it. Get the mortar and pestle out. Put it out there and do a little pitch. We don't want too much salt. And when you look at the sugar to salt ratio, you'll know. I have people who like salt, but when they go to kosher salt, their ratios normalize. So good point. Very good point. Those of you who are on insulin and diabetics, if you start this program, you got to be controlled and watch because insulin is a salt. And those of you who are overweight, you store salts in your fat. And those of you who are overweight and on insulin, you store insulin in your fat. And those of you who are reaching that point on that graph that says, hey, I'm starting a 5-phase program, and you start detoxifying, you're going to start breaking down fat, and you're going to start releasing stuff out of that fat, and you're going to start getting sugar lows because you're going to release insulin. And if you start drinking distilled water, which flushes out sugars and salts, those of you who are diabetic can put yourself in the hospital. You can have major sugar crashes. You can have a coma. So do not go and start a program like I'm talking about if you are an insulin dependent diabetic, unless you have somebody who really knows what they're doing to guide you through that. And you have a medical doctor who says, well, I don't believe a damn thing about this, but I'll watch you and we'll do an insulin sliding scale. So if you show me that you need less, you can use less and you can watch those insulin levels just go off. And those of you who are insulin dependent type 1 diabetics, don't stop your insulin at all. But I will tell you, I have seen people start producing insulin again because most of you have one of those other stressors called microbial. Look up Coxsackie virus, Coxsackie, Coxsackie virus, and type 1 diabetes. Look it up. Particularly look it up at the National Institutes of Health through environmental health perspectives. Google it, environmental health perspectives. Go to the NIH and their search engine. Put Coxsackie virus and type 1 diabetes. And wow, does our medical community know about this stuff? Or do they just ignore it and say you need insulin for the rest of your life? Can you clear a virus out of your body? Oh, I don't know. Not using anything like that machine because you can't use that to cure, treat, prevent, or diagnose. That's illegal. But you can come in and have some good vibes. You can learn your chemistry. You can understand, but you got to watch this stuff, people. That's why it's called restorative health. This is not teaching you a disease model. I'm teaching you a health model. And so we are going to observe patterns. We're going to learn your basics. We're going to drink in a rhythm. We're going to improve your energy in and efficiency. And then to control those pHs, you have to learn that your body, because all biological life uses more calcium by weight and volume than any other element. You have a calcium misutilization and you need the right forms of calcium because there's 150,000 types of calcium on this planet that break down to 6 forms. And you can get those forms by choosing the right foods based upon your pH. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Guess what? Everybody who's ever tried to teach this originally was thrown in jail. They were curing the incurable. I'm not curing anybody. I'm watching people restore. It's amazing, people. pH values, they direct the need for what form of calcium, but more importantly, they direct what food you need, which has what? The right forms of calcium. That's the hallmark difference of understanding RBTI in any other system of health, because the other system teaches death by calcium. Calcium causes hardening of the arteries, calcifications in the body, causes stiffness. Yeah, because your body's not going to waste it and it's going to deposit where it can, because you are breaking down and wasting calcium from the age of 35 on. Your body starts the calcium decline. And so your body uses your bones, and wow, who's heard of osteoporosis, to buffer out and get calcium because you were building it up until that point because you don't get it in your food anymore. You all have chronic deficiencies. It's just what form of calcium, because some of them raise the pH, some of them lower the pH. And if you have a high pH, you don't want ones that raise your pH because your body say, hey, I'm not going to waste this, so I'm going to deposit it in tissues where it shouldn't be. And you're going to have death by calcium. Understand, this is science, people. Science. This is real mathematical truth. Science that's ignored by the other side. I sound like Wendy Bell talking on the left and right side, don't I? What do you think, Annie?
That's a good thing. I love Wendy. She's been sensational these last couple months. Just talking about the truth. Good thing.
Yep.
You do have a question up here. Linda is asking, David's kosher salt looks like it doesn't have an anti-caking agent. I'm not sure.
Because anti-caking agents are usually dextrose, and dextrose is potato sugar, and many people can't. I have a lot of type O blood people who horribly reacted to potato and don't realize it. And so, no, it does not have an anti-caking. But bring a dry salt, it doesn't. You'll notice that it does not cake together. because what does salt do? Sucks the moisture out. I grind it up. I put it in a salt shaker, and if you have a small hold salt shaker, and you put that big salt in it, you can sit there and just shake it over your hand. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get some. But that does teach you to control your salt intake, because as you learn to control salt, you're not going to crave it. When you get your ratios down, all of a sudden all those strong cravings go away. If you're craving salt, people, which a lot of people do, particularly slow oxidizers, what you're trying to do, and slow oxidizers are BC range, which is high pH. What your body's trying to just slow, is craving that to help dilute the fluids. And so, or actually, you're moving the fluids and heat. It's energy movement of heat loss. But you won't, those salt cravings, the sugar cravings, all that gets under control as you learn and you start doing this. It's amazing. I just, I still have supplements for adrenal glands and all that other stuff, because, yeah, but you don't need them, or you need less of them, and you need to only take them for a short period of time. When you're looking at calcium, the one calcium that I recommend for everybody is Minkol. It's soft rock phosphate, because not only is Minkol, your bone is calcium phosphate, so you're replacing, the calcium and phosphorus, which makes up about 84 of body composition of minerals, 84%. But soft rock phosphate also has been shown to be, that Minkol has been shown to be an inhibitor to prevent you from salting out and that agglutination process in your blood. So that's another one of the benefits that Ream showed with taking the right form of calcium, the one that we're going to sit there and be depleting and sucking from our bones if we need calcium regulation. So on average, if you've never taken calciums, I just say one Minkol with every meal. It's about 350 milligrams of calcium a day, which if you're looking at RDAs and you're above 40 or, even childbearing years, you're supposed to do 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams. I'm not going to tell you to take all that in supplemental form, or even take super therapeutic doses and 3-4 grams of calcium like you'll find in some of the RBTI textbooks. I want you to get it in diet. But you do need some Minkol. Sometimes you do need some other sources of calcium to move the pH. Sometimes you need extra vitamin D to move the pH up, or extra vitamin C to move it down, which we talked about a little bit last week. Distilled water, people. Distilled water is the only form of water that is going to electromagnetically be adapted to your body. And when we're talking about a agglutination process where your blood is sticking together, that agglutination is caused by salting and salts. And it's caused by what's called a zeta potential, the electrical potential between the cells. And as the zeta potential decreases, the cells they don't repel, don't stay away from one another, and then they group together. And it's a protein-mediated interaction, but distilled water will separate those cells. And everyone says it's going to flush out your minerals. Yeah, you're going to pee out about 48 minerals, which is just like the salt, the waste of what's coming in the body. Your body's going to salt out and get rid of that bad stuff. So that's why we stay away from the Himalayan salt, those pink salts, and those type of things. We've talked about high conductivity. Again, is a mineral imbalance, long-term concerns for heart disease, mineral deposits, calcifications. You have to take this into consideration. If you have a high salt value and your sugar to salt ratio is above 1:5, that's where I'll talk about a vitamin B6, pyridoxal 5-phosphate. It actually helps you when those high conductivity. It helps with that nerve and that conductivity to help you to get it out. And sometimes because of the irritation, the vitamin C and those type of things that happen. When you start this process, and if you start salting out, particularly if you are overweight, rapid weight loss and fat breakdown can cause a toxic mobilization of junk out of your body, that where if you are not able to detoxify, you will get sick. And you'll be like, oh, that's not the right source of medicine for me. It's not a source of medicine. It's a restorative health program. But it's because you're so toxic that you can't just go and detox. So we got to look at this whole program of breakfast for a queen, lunch for a king, dinner for a pauper. 30% of your calories for breakfast, 50% lunch, 20% dinner. You know, drinking distilled water, drinking it in a rhythmic aspect, having controlling your sugars and salts by putting juice in your water if you need to. If you have a high sugar to salt ratio, you're supposed to be 1 to 5. If you're 1 to 10 and eating sea salts and you start drinking distilled water and they both start coming down, next thing you know, that sugar is so low that you can't think. So in order to keep the sugars to maintain but bring the salts down, we'll add about a quarter cup of juice to a quart of water, so that when you're drinking that water, that distilled water with juice in it, you're trying to maintain the sugars, but that distilled water still brings the salt down. So that 1 to 10 ratio goes to a 1 to 5. And then over time, as you learn how to drink water, you don't have to add juice all the time. So we're just trying to put all that stuff in perspective on how to do this. So I don't know what else that I need to kind of cover in this.
You got you have a question in the comments there.
Yeah, let's look at that.
About how to get a meter.
How do they get a meter, Annie?
Call the office. Email the office.
Email the office. The office email is office@pittsburghalternativehealth.com. Kind of long. You can go to docmisak.com. You can email through there. And that will get forwarded to the office through a second channel, but it's most direct to go through the office email. Oh, by the way, how many of you like vitalometry? Anybody doing it right now? I mean, I took mine this morning and stuff like that, and you see kind of outside on our show here, vitalometry. Use Doc Misak code. Don't use Doc Misak code today. If you use, oh my God, is it 2 year? What is it? It's second year, or I think it's second year. Let me look up the code real quick.
I'm jumping in my email.
Yeah, because this is our anniversary sale.
Second year.
And it is the
second year.
Yeah, 2NDYEAR. 2NDYEAR. 30% off as large of an order as you do. Once you get 3 bottles and you break $150, you're getting free shipping also. So if you think about it, everyone said, well, buy 2, get 1 free is better. Add it up. No, it's not. 30% off if you look at it. If you buy 3 bottles, you're essentially getting 3 bottles without shipping, is what it would be cheaper than buying 2, get 1 free. So it's actually a little bit cheaper to do it this way for those of you who are out there. So the sale's going through on Sunday through tomorrow. Second year on vitalometry, and you get 30% off, people. And if you haven't tried it, I'm not going to sit there and toot the horn of a product. I hope that everybody else will just chat about it and say what they've experienced. And I tell people to go to, if you want to chat about it, just go to Amazon and look at the reviews. And then you'll get an idea what people think about the product. Thank you for putting it out there, Marty. Red Label. Let's see. Again, for getting equipment, go to my office, email us. We ship it out from here. And if you get the equipment from me, it's going to be calibrated. Plus, you get the special handout that people are waiting on to give you an idea. Oh, bummer. Jackie, you ordered 2 with the code, so you had to pay shipping. Had you paid that it's extra, it would have brought your 3rd bottle down to a little bit. Sorry about that. If you email vitalometry and you haven't got it shipped to you yet, Vince will take care of you. I love vitalometry. Thank you, Linda. Marty, great show. Everybody, great show. 11:01, great show. It's been an hour. I don't know what else to say, but watch these shows. Basically, figure this stuff out. It's not rocket science as much as I seem like it could be. Well, actually, if you think about it, it is rocket science. It's a nuclear generator that's going on in your body, and how to improve the efficiency of that nuclear generator to where you are generating so much energy. Your body builds reserve energy to where you can do whatever the hell you want and you still feel good. But if you keep doing that, you throw yourself out of range and deplete that reserve energy. But getting there is a challenge. But is it worth it? I don't know. I'm not looking for perfect, but I am looking for a healthy well-being. With that, people, be blessed, stay well, enjoy life, know you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you. Bye.
And we're down.